to stop them. This video posted to social media shows Ukraine protesters trying to block Russian vehicles in Metropole.
There are scenes like this now being played out across the city and across the country. Up until a week ago, these guys had regular jobs and regular lives. Today, they've got weapons and they're ready to stand and fight the Russian invasion.
The Pentagon says morale among Russian troops has suffered. Videos online appear to show captured Russian soldiers saying they thought they were being deployed for exercises, not combat. Meanwhile, a defiant Ukrainian President Zelensky is granting TV interviews from a bunker in Kyiv.
Can you see your family kids?
No, I can't.
Unshaven, in a t-shirt and with combat boots on, the president telling reporters he hasn't seen his family in 3 days. Zelensky says since the invasion began, it's been work and sleep. That's it. And a Ukrainian official claims a Russian hit squad was sent to assassinate President Zelensky, but the plot was foiled.
Global markets are responding to a move by the U.S. and other countries to release millions of barrels of oil from the reserves to try and stop gas prices from skyrocketing. ABC's Britt Clennett is watching the markets from Hong Kong. Britt?
Andrew, oil prices climbing overnight. The release of reserves failing to calm markets. Brent oil breaking $110 a barrel. There's growing concern, too, now about food prices. Wheat up to their highest levels since 2008. Now, Russia and Ukraine together supply around 14% of the global wheat production. So the ramifications really being felt across the world here, with the prices of basic goods like cereal and bread expected to be driven higher, too. Now, among the big news overnight, too, Boeing deciding it will suspend all airplane parts, maintenance and technical support to Russian airlines. Boeing adding to a growing list of companies responding to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Mona?
Brett, thank you. During his State of the Union address, President Biden announced that he's banning Russian planes from the U.S., saying now is our moment. The president also discussed everything from inflation to the pandemic. ABC's M. Wynn has more from Washington. M, good morning.
Good morning, Mona. The president walked a fine line between celebrating his domestic victories and being mindful of the many challenges ahead.
President Biden dedicated the first 12 minutes of his speech to the war in Ukraine, announcing he's banning Russian planes from entering U.S. airspace.
Further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
Biden also declaring a new moment in the fight against COVID, announcing a so-called test and treat plan, saying people who test positive will soon be able to get free antiviral treatments at pharmacies. The president's also calling for an end to pandemic-related shutdowns.
People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. And our schools are open. Let's keep it that way.
Critics like Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds slamming Biden's comments as too little too late. Iowa reopened classrooms full-time early last year.
I was attacked by the left. I was attacked by the media. But it wasn't a hard choice. It was the right choice.
Biden also appearing to rebrand his economic agenda, avoiding the term Build Back Better, the name of his massive social spending bill that failed to pass. Instead, he said fighting inflation is his top priority.
I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America.
And when it comes to rising crime, Biden rejected calls to defund the police.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police, it's to fund the police.
After the speech, Republicans discussing a long list of criticisms, from oil and gas prices to the culture wars.
Americans are tired of a political class trying to remake this country into a place where an elite few tell everyone else what they can and cannot say.
The joke of him talking about the 60 million barrels of oil, it's a joke. By his regulations, just in the state of North Dakota, he has cut the amount of production by 500,000 barrels a day, every day. And you know how much we import from Russia a day, David? 480,000 barrels.
In the meantime, a lighter moment when Biden acknowledged Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer's retirement. Breyer briefly covering his face during the standing ovation, and special guest Joshua Davis stole the show. The 13-year-old diabetes patient is working to lower the cost of insulin.
Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way.
Joshua, clearly delighted with his presidential shout-out, his face quickly turning red.
Also last night, President Biden announced a mental health initiative. He's establishing a national hotline for people battling mental health. Mona.
And thank you. Former presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke has won the Democratic primary in Texas. He'll face incumbent Greg Abbott in the race for governor. The attorney general race is headed for a runoff with Ken Paxton facing George P. Bush.
3 men charged in a plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan will stand trial. It comes after a judge ruled the men were not entrapped by the FBI. They tried to argue that an informant pressured them into supporting the plot.
Your weather forecast could soon be more accurate thanks to this launch in Florida. NOAA launching a new satellite into space. It will help track weather systems on the West Coast.
Seems like a good time then to check your Wednesday weather. More rescues from flooded areas of the Pacific Northwest are likely today as rain and snow continue to move down the West Coast. Seattle received more than 1 month's worth of rain in just 3 days. On the radar, there's snow, sleet, and freezing rain from the northern plains to the Great Lakes. Rain and snow is also possible in northern New England later today. Checking today's high temperatures, mostly in the 70s from Los Angeles to Kansas City to Atlanta. 50s for the Northwest today, 79 in Miami.
Coming up, the cargo ship that caught on fire carrying thousands of luxury cars finally meets its fate.
Also ahead, the so-called Tinder swindler, mastermind of an alleged dating scam. He's facing new legal trouble.
But first, the families torn apart by the Ukraine refugee crisis, the new problem being addressed.
This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes.
You got intrigue, deceit, fantasy. It's all there.
Can't peel your eyes away.
Any comments, Elizabeth? Any comments, Elizabeth?
God bless you, girl boss.
The new man in her life, the new baby. And now, as Elizabeth Holmes awaits sentencing, what you haven't seen, haven't heard.
Behind the scenes, it was an absolute mess.
My jaw dropped.
Part of the human trait, being fascinated by a train wreck.
I was blown away.
The new 2020 Friday night on ABC.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
Yeah. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? Hey, I guess I just found out now.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show. Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, What You Need to Know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live.
We're surrounded by people squeezing into this bomb shelter.
Run, urgent delivery, run.
Not afraid to go there.
So my question, Mr. President, what are you so afraid of?
Breaking news, live events.
This is the moment.
Streaming straight to you, anytime, anywhere.
You just met one friend right here.
You're watching ABC News Live. Thanks for streaming with us.
The deeper you go into black markets, the darker it gets.
Traffic 169 on National Geographic.
The ill-fated Felicity Ace is now a sunken cargo ship. The vessel carrying thousands of luxury cars, including Porsches, finally sank in the Atlantic yesterday, nearly 2 weeks after it caught fire. The disaster has cost an estimated $155 million.
We return now to Ukraine and new images of the refugee crisis tearing families apart. And now the government is addressing yet another concern, discrimination. Here's ABC's Andrew Fujii.
This morning, Ukraine's foreign minister addressing the plight of people of color trying to flee the country, whose exits have been delayed because of their race, tweeting, "Africans seeking evacuation are our friends and need to have equal opportunities to return to their home countries safely." This man living in Ukraine, originally from the Congo, says white men were allowed to board trains while men of color were turned away.
It was clear. It was clear. Because we are black. That's why they were acting that way.
He eventually made it to Poland, but says racial discrimination kept him from getting here sooner. So far, more than 700,000 refugees have arrived in neighboring countries. American James Burke and his Ukrainian wife and baby fled their home in Kyiv and have been stuck in Lviv trying to catch a train out.
A plane flew over by very quickly, and then you heard them trying to shoot it down. We just rolled over. We rolled over and laid on our baby.
At train stations, mothers fearful themselves try to console their children whose fathers have stayed behind. All the women here with their hands raised have husbands who've stayed behind to fight the Russians. This Ukrainian mother, Olia, sharing in Polish the painful questions her daughter asks about her father. But signs of unity and strength as refugees like Olia sing Ukraine's national anthem after arriving in Poland. And glimmers of happiness as some families reunite with friends and loved ones across the border with hopes they'll soon be able to return home. The UN says up to 4 million people may flee Ukraine. The Biden administration is promising $54 million in humanitarian aid. Mona, Andrew.
Andrea, thank you. And coming up, we talk to a former CIA official about what's next for Vladimir Putin.
And later, $10 toothpaste, America's battle with inflation.
The hottest views in daytime are happening right here.
We talk about things on this show that people don't talk about.
That I can't wait to see.
Honest takes from strong women.
We need all hands on deck, and we need it right now. This is the time to speak out.
Unafraid to get real.
We stick by our points of view.
We're all seeing it differently, and that's the beauty of The View.
And that's why the most watched #1 daytime talk show is The View. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, What You Need to Know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
It was an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do you evade capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcasts.
World News Now.
And America This Morning.
The best new video.
Breaking news overnight.
Your money and concerns about inflation.
The pandemic is not over.
The stories people are talking about.
You want to shake your legs? Don't. I was just saying. And what to expect in the day ahead.
From the top of the world, baby! ABC World News Now and America This Morning.
Weekday morning starting at 2 a.m. Eastern.
Up all night to keep you up to date.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
Back now with this wax museum in Paris taking down its exhibit of Russian President Vladimir Putin, packing up the statue as anti-war protests spread around the world. U.S. officials are warning the worst is yet to come in Ukraine.
I spoke earlier with former CIA official Darrell Blocker. Darrell Blocker, thanks so much for joining us. I want to start with your overall assessment. What are your thoughts on what's next in Ukraine, given what we are seeing on the ground?
I think what we're seeing on the ground is not going to happen too much longer. Putin is going to turn up the heat.
the troops that are stalled along the lines of between the border and Kyiv are going to continue to march on. So I'm very hopeful that people are holding out, but the worst is yet to come.
We've been seeing this convoy, this concern internationally about this 40-mile-long Russian convoy that apparently made very little progress in the last 24 hours trying to approach Kyiv. What does that indicate to you?
Could be a number of different things. They could be stalling because there's confusion in the ranks. There could be decision processes that are being made at the Putin and his inner circle. And it could be the resistance.
And I found this interesting. We're getting reports of more Russian troops abandoning their vehicles, letting Ukrainians stop their tanks without a fight. What's the danger here for Putin? Could bad morale be the Russians' Achilles heel here?
Bad morale, I think, could be a part of it, but he's more along the lines that his troops feel uninformed. There are reports that the troops had no idea that they were actually going into combat, that they thought this was an exercise. And if the people who are in the trenches, and make no mistake about it, every war in the history of mankind is won by people on the ground in the trenches. And if they decide not to fight, then guess what? There's no fight. And hopefully they will recognize the folly of their ways and just defy what Putin is expecting them to do.
And speaking of leadership, President Zelensky of Ukraine is giving TV interviews from his bunker, refusing to leave Kyiv. He hasn't even seen his family. Are you surprised by the determination of this man?
Honestly, I'm not. I've worked with some impressive Ukrainian diplomats abroad, and it didn't surprise me even a little bit that Zelensky is standing up and out on the streets with his troops and moving around. And quite frankly, it's inspiring, and it shows that he's a true leader.
All right, Daryl Blocker, thanks so much for being on with us. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks again there to Daryl Blocker.
And coming up, no deal, a major problem for the major leagues.
Also ahead, more controversy for Wordle.
It's an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do you evade capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcasts.
This morning, with so much on the line, GMA is live in the war zone, inside Putin's Russia, and with the refugees desperately seeking safety, and Vice President Kamala Harris faces all the tough questions. This morning, ABC's Good Morning America. Take America's #1 news with you, anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7, there for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now. This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live.
We're surrounded by people squeezing into this bomb shelter.
Run, urgent delivery, run.
Not afraid to go there.
So my question, Mr. President, what are you so afraid of?
Breaking news, live events.
This is the moment.
Streaming straight to you, anytime, anywhere.
You just met one friend right here.
You're watching ABC News Live. Thanks for streaming with us.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know when the truth is going to be difficult to find, unless you try to find it.
Ready for a little GMA-ish promo? Okay, here we go. GMA 7A every day with Robin, George, and Michael. That's how you start the day. Boom!
Back now with sticker shock for something that we use every day. As inflation drives up prices, Colgate is now marketing a $10 tube of toothpaste. The company says its new Optic White Pro series helps whiten teeth. Now many companies are raising prices to offset higher costs. Critics say, though, some of those price hikes are solely aimed at boosting profits.
We turn now to lockout in Major League Baseball. The first week of games this season has been canceled. For the first time in 27 years, opening day for America's pastime has been canceled because of a labor dispute.
We're not going to be able to play the first 2 series of the regular season, and those games are officially canceled.
Major League Baseball's commissioner announcing he's canceling the first 2 series of regular season games after the players' union unanimously rejected the league's latest proposal. Talks collapsing after 9 days of negotiations. The league offered to raise players' minimum salaries from $675,000 to $700,000, but the union wants $725,000 with more increases in the coming years.
A lockout is the ultimate economic weapon. In a $10 billion industry, the owners have made a conscious decision to use this weapon against the greatest asset they have, the players.
Also at issue, bonus pay for top-performing younger players not yet eligible to negotiate new contracts. This morning, the commissioner saying no future talks have been scheduled. Players will not be paid for canceled games.
New legal problems for the so-called Tinder swindler, whose alleged dating scam is the subject of a Netflix documentary. Shimon Hayut now faces a lawsuit in Israel. He allegedly scammed women by claiming he was the son of an Israeli diamond mogul. That mogul is now suing, claiming that the scam has damaged his family's reputation.
Players of the online game Wordle are once again asking whether the New York Times has ruined the game. The new criticism comes after Tuesday's word rupee, which is the currency of India and several other countries. Critics say it's an example of the game becoming too hard since the Times bought it.
You said you got it, right?
Yeah, I got it right.
So there you go. Andrew's the standard. If Andrew can get it,
it
so
has gotten harder, but it's 5-letter words. How easy should it be?
Definitely. Top headlines next.
This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes.
You got intrigue, deceit, fantasy. It's all there.
Can't peel your eyes away.
Any comments, Elizabeth? Any comments, Elizabeth?
God bless you, girl boss.
The new man in her life, the new baby. And now, as Elizabeth Holmes awaits sentencing, what you haven't seen, haven't heard.
Behind the scenes, it was an absolute mess.
My jaw dropped.
Part of the human trait, being fascinated by a train wreck. I was blown away.
The new 2020 Friday night on ABC.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, What You Need to Know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live.
We're surrounded by people squeezing into this bomb shelter.
Run, urgent delivery, run.
Not afraid to go there.
So my question, Mr. President, what are you so afraid of?
Breaking news, live events.
This is the moment.
Streaming straight to you, anytime, anywhere.
You just met one friend right here.
You're watching ABC News Live. Thanks for streaming with us.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it. Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now. This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yeah. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live? What would you do? I guess I just found out. The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Checking the top stories, more civilians are dying in Ukraine as Russia targets populated urban areas. The latest strikes have hit homes, a hospital, a TV tower, and a Holocaust memorial. As Ukrainians fight back, officials say Vladimir Putin is determined to crush the country. A 40-mile military convoy is still heading toward Kyiv, and the Russians have surrounded 3 other cities.
During his State of the Union, President Biden announced Russian planes will now be banned from U.S. airspace. He also promised to fight inflation by lowering costs, not wages, but oil prices rose again overnight.
The CDC now says about 43% of Americans have been infected with COVID. Roughly 1/4 of the infections were from the Omicron variant.
Today's weather, a wintry mix from New England to the Great Lakes, snow in the northern plains, and more rain and snow for the Pacific Northwest.
And finally, the celebrity chef on the Ukraine border feeding thousands of refugees.
Will Gans has his story.
These women, these men, they are fighting the war, making sure everybody's fed.
Chef Jose Andres on the ground in Ukraine with his nonprofit World Central Kitchen, feeding refugees. Part of the growing global community doing what they can to help.
We are here to feed people in their darkest hour.
Chef delivering nearly 500 pounds of flour to this bakery outside Lviv after spending time at 8 different border points in Poland, helping to feed the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians turned refugees.
You can see police, firefighters, churches, different small or bigger NGOs. They're all working together to make sure that nobody will be forgotten.
The heartbreaking reality around him making him more determined than ever to help.
We're going to be as ready as we can to make sure that we can bring relief. Water, obviously, food, obviously, but the many other things that the men and women are going to be needing during this crisis.
Like so many other organizations, World Central Kitchen taking donations to fund their life-saving work.
One of the best ways you can help right now is make sure there is a direct connection to what is going on in Ukraine right now, because that is the only way any kind of food supply, funding, any kind of assistance is actually going to reach the Ukrainians and the people that are fleeing the conflict.
World Central Kitchen certainly meeting those standards, and those donations going a long way to Chef Andres and his mission to feed Ukraine.
We are all American, we are all Ukrainian, we are all citizens of the world.
If you'd like to donate and want to make sure your money will make it to Ukraine, the BBB recommends going to give.org. There, you'll find the 20 BBB charity standards that charities are required to follow to become accredited. Mona, Andrew?
Some great advice. You want to make sure you're protected as well.
Yeah, and everybody chipping in with a great story there from our Will Gans. That's what's making news in America this morning.
Right now on America This Morning, bracing for assault. Ukrainian cities facing intense bombing as Russian troops take aim. New attacks appearing to target civilians.
A TV tower and local officials say even a Holocaust memorial bombed. The refugee crisis growing this morning, what the Pentagon is now predicting. And our expert weighs in on that 40-mile-long Russian convoy that appeared to be stalled outside of Kyiv.
President Biden and his State of the Union message for Vladimir Putin. The new punishment for Russia just announced, plus Biden's plan to tackle inflation, and critics speak out on gas prices rising once again overnight.
And no deal. Why there could be a lot less of America's pastime this spring, but the Major League Commissioner is now revealing.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Let's get right to the situation in Ukraine. The capital, Kyiv, is bracing for a major assault.
Just hours ago, in a State of the Union address, President Biden said Vladimir Putin, quote, has no idea what's coming. But right now, it's the Ukrainians who are preparing for the worst. Officials say more than 350 people have been killed since the invasion began.
There are reports of Russians running out of food and fuel, but experts